This is episode 113.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Wade Loren. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
Wade, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm great.
Good. Episode 113. Back to back from 112.
Feels like we were just here.
Yeah. We're back live on Instagram again. Same people coming back in. Like,
Woo!
what is today? Thursday?
Thursday.
What are you guys doing? Like, I get Scott. Scott's at home. He's laid up.
Yep.
At least I assume so. I don't know.
He's ready to watch 4 hours of back-to-back
Yeah.
Ultimate Deck Podcast.
We'll do our best to
I'm
make sure
out of
this one
here in
doesn't
30
last
minutes.
an hour and 40 like the last one.
Peace.
Bryce, were you going to give us some moments of
Silence.
Are we just doing silence?
of uselessness?
Moments of uselessness.
Moments of uselessness?
Here's the moments of uselessness
We're
today.
going to do a little bit of would you rathers?
Would you rather?
Good. Because that riddle, Wade still hasn't figured the riddle
Wait,
out.
still
So.
hasn't got it. Okay.
And it's a week later.
I know what happened. The government took it.
The government took the dog.
It was
Yeah.
a conspiracy
Yeah.
theory.
Super low tax actually on that.
Yeah. It just disappeared.
It's like being in,
0.33%.
it's like being in Florida. It's like the Florida tax rate there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
Okay, first question. Would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the most intelligent?
Funniest.
Yeah. Yep,
Who- okay.
funniest.
I said
Who is the the funniest person in the room?
Bryce.
Not me. I'm not.
So,
Are we talking mirrors or like words or what?
mirrors?
Yeah, like if we,
Oh, like who's the funniest looking?
and
Well,
there-
apparently he's the funniest.
I'm the funniest.
He's the
guy.
funniest.
There it is.
No, I'm a guy who likes to have fun. And so I think that funny would be better. Because in today's climate, I don't know that it's good to be smart.
No. No one believes you anyway.
Right?
Doesn't matter.
You're on the outside if you have any intelligence in this world right now.
Exactly.
And you're outnumbered.
Funny.
You're
So you can
outnumbered
out-
by funny people. That's the problem.
Yeah. They're not funny though. God.
Would you rather eat no candy at Halloween or no turkey at Thanksgiving?
No turkey at Thanksgiving.
I'm a no turkey guy too. Well, I'm a vegetarian.
Right, because I'd eat it the next day. I just,
So. You just wait. It's better cold.
That's a tough one.
Why?
So
Okay, so
do you get to eat the candy like just for one day? Or because my Halloween candy, like it lasts a while.
What? Okay,
I would
let's just
take
say.
so
you
does
get
a
to-
turkey. When was the last time you
you
cooked
get
a
to-
turkey and ate it all the one day?
You get to eat
Last Thanksgiving.
no
Yeah.
Halloween candy or no turkey.
Oh yeah, I'd skip the turkey then.
I'd skip the turkey.
If I get to have the Halloween candy for like as long as it lasts, then
Okay.
I'm doing that.
Yeah. And so the argument
Because I'll
is,
just have turkey at Christmas.
the argument is made perfectly. Somebody told me one time that turkey is just total garbage. They're like, it's the worst food. And the reason I know it's the worst food is nobody cooks it in between the 3 times a year it gets cooked.
I agree.
Right? And they're
Nobody
like,
eats turkey.
Do
on
you
the
think it's
reg.
because that's the volume of food though? It's like, could share your point. You can't finish a turkey. You're not going to cook it for you and your wife.
yeah, you can freeze it.
you can buy a small turkey?
That's what chickens are for.
That's what a chicken is. It's a small turkey.
Anyways, so it was like, if you actually like turkey, nobody likes turkey. If you like turkey, you'd cook it on a Wednesday. And then there would be like
You know,
sandwich meat all week. And
We're
I was
having that today, actually. Not turkey, tiny turkey.
Tiny
Today,
turkey.
Yeah,
it's in the slow
Chicken.
cooker. We're having tiny turkey
Tiny turkey.
in the slow cooker.
That's
tonight.
really funny. What did Scott call the Canadian geese? Cobra chicken?
Cobra.
Cobra chicken.
That's what they are.
Cobra chickens. Yeah,
They're mean.
yeah. Have you ever eaten Cobra chicken?
Yeah.
You
It's
have?
really good, yeah.
Is it really good, or is it just like
No, so-
people who eat weird things
like duck.
always say
No.
something's really
so
good?
it's not
but
like duck. Duck is really greasy and oily. Like duck is oily.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
And it's hard to, like, it's dark meat and it's hard to cook it so that it's not like oily and slippery like duck is. Goose is great.
I find goose is really hard to cook.
Yeah. I like goose quite a bit.
Goose is tasty.
Yep.
There's just a lot of fat on it.
Lots of people grind it up too and turn it into a jerky, right? They'll
Yeah.
anyways, grind it up and smear it down on
How
How about the other half of that? How about snake?
would you rather
Would you
eat
eat snake?
I would eat snake.
I'd probably eat snake.
Be fun to turn it on them for once.
Reminds me of Waterboy. What part
I
of
had
the
the chance
snake
to
are you
eat snake.
eating?
We went to a restaurant in Banff, Alberta this past summer, and on the menu there was snake, and I ordered it, but it happened that they were we're out of snake right now.
Yeah,
We're
like,
Weird. How do you have snake in the menu that gets ordered 4 times a year and not have it available? So I think they subbed it out for I don't know, but it was called the exotic wild fondue or something. And I think I ended up getting kangaroo instead of snake. Or sturgeon. It might have been sturgeon instead of snake.
Sure.
Oh, sturgeon.
And I was looking
That's a
forward to the
dinosaur.
snake because I was like, I will not eat snake anywhere else.
Other than Banff, like I would try it in Louisiana.
Yeah, maybe, but I just mean like
exactly.
I mean like
I would rather
sturgeon's
not
still a
eat
fish.
Australia, I don't know. If you're gonna be somewhere that they're gonna feed you snake, make sure it's a place that they actually like cook snake.
Yeah.
Banff is like, a really sick garter snake recipe.
No, they got
going.
rattlers there.
Right.
I mean, this other
Not
stuff was
Banff,
clearly
though.
imported. There was kangaroo in there on the menu.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
Would you rather?
One. We'll do 2 more. We'll do one. We'll see how long.
would
this
you
one
rather
takes.
do 1 more or 2 more?
Would you rather do 1 more or 2 more? Would you rather be able to run at 100 miles an hour or fly at 10 miles an hour?
Fly at 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, fly at 10 miles an hour. That opens up opportunities. If I want to run 100 miles an hour, I'll drive there.
That's fair.
I can't. Unless, of course, at 100 miles an hour, I can cross water running. Like
Yeah, you probably could. I've seen snowmobiles do it, so
that's like, because then maybe I would. But if you're running, then I'm stuck in North America. That's it. But if I can fly at 10 miles an hour, I could fly across the oceans.
that'd be a long flight. I'm just 10 miles an hour.
But maybe it's like a backstroke, and you just like
years later.
Yeah,
flip over.
how
and
much
you're like,
food do you got? You got to carry it.
Anyways,
Okay, let's do the last one then. The last one will be a gross one.
Good.
Would you rather eat poop that tasted like chocolate or chocolate that tasted like poop?
poop that tasted like chocolate. Because the taste is chocolate.
Yeah, but I think
But
I would
it's
take the
poop.
chocolate because you know that it's just like fake flavoring. It's like those jelly beans. We eat the jelly beans like spoiled milk. I'd rather eat a jelly bean that tastes like spoiled milk than eat
Than
spoiled
drink
milk
spoiled
that's
milk.
sweet tasting.
But if it didn't, the problem is the taste for me.
Not
See-
the fact that you could develop like toxic shock syndrome from eating feces.
Septic. You become septic.
You become
Yeah.
septic.
Nope.
Septic. Yeah, you're not wearing a tampon, but maybe you are at the time. What fairly good construction's like what exactly is happening here right now? So
That was another moment of uselessness.
I'm glad
on
my
the Ultimate
son,
Deck
my
Shop.
14-year-old son, does not listen to this because he does this shit all the time, and my wife and I are always like, "Would you knock it off? Like these are so stupid, these questions." And now, like that poop question would be one of his.
That's why.
Did I eat a
Yeah.
poop flavored cookie? Shh.
Shit.
Nope.
Oh.
Just shh.
Oh, okay.
Shut it.
So anyway,
Okay, let's move on to the topic.
now that we got that
Moment of
out
uselessness.
of the way, today's topic. So Wade, do you even remember 109 episodes ago?
No.
Because you didn't used to do them in the first year.
Yeah,
hardly.
that was it.
Like you weren't on it.
It was possible that I didn't attend.
Yeah.
I did do this one though.
Did you?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, let's change the topic
Apparently,
real quick. then.
apparently you don't remember 109 episodes.
Yeah, I never
ago.
claimed to. I was hoping he did because I was like lost here right now.
Oh, what were you doing?
Yeah. So what we're talking about today, a couple years ago, on episode somewhere around like 3 to 5, I feel like it was a really early. We did an episode called "The Foundation of Every Great Deck," and it's a topic that I think we should get back to and touch on again because it's buried so far back there, and there's even maybe a couple options that weren't around back then, to be honest. And so we're back today to talk again about the foundation of every great deck,
Foundation of every great deck.
which is a little punny way to say that we're talking about like piles and foundation components today.
Yeah, because you don't get a second chance to do foundations.
That's right. No, well, I mean, if you do get a second chance, not a good thing.
Oh, there was a deck in Regina. They got a crack at it last year.
Yeah, it fell over.
Fell right
didn't
off the
it?
house. Yep.
I got a chance to redo a few things.
Foundation was fine. Turns
I
out
believe the piles were probably fine in that one, yeah.
Foundation was good on that one.
So what we're talking about today is the different types of foundations and just our, like we don't, let's be honest, we just both said we'd like to be the funny guy. Neither of us are that intelligent. this is, I don't know that there's a whole lot of learning to happen
You
here.
guys, you might be pretty shocked to find out, but
Was that just an hour-long episode of them just telling us things that they're aware of? Yeah. There's no actual commentary? Oh, so yeah, these exist, and then these other things exist.
We did that 113 times.
But you'll have to try them to see what they're like. That last episode would have been great for that. Loyalty program comparison. So Trex has one, and TimberTech has one, and Fibron has one. The information's on the website. Check it out.
Go check it out.
We could have actually just done a post. We could have just done a post with like links to the website.
Right.
Been like, boonk.
Just left it up on the
Saved
story
ourselves
live
and-
for an hour.
I've decided that this podcast format is not the right format of media for what we do. There needs to be
read
some
brochures.
contextual information provided along with this shit. Okay, in spite of us being the funniest guys in the world, there's still only 5 people on the Instagram, so let's just get this going.
Yep.
Now, the first one we're going to talk about is not a common thing in other areas that people are going to be listening from. They're like, so this is going to raise some eyebrows of people being like, that's not the proper way to build a deck. But in some markets, people still do this, building a deck on top of the ground and not actually putting piles in at all.
Correct.
And so what that looks like in our market is, there's a few products out there. The one we've really latched onto and the market's really latched onto out here is called the GH Leveler.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably wondering where they got the name for that, GH Leveler.
Let's come up with some ideas. What's GH stand for?
I don't know. Funny guy one. Want to take a crack at that?
Yeah. Just in a bit though.
A gro-
See, got them both laughing.
This is foundations of a great joke.
It's a grossly heavy leveler.
No.
Lateral load. You got to think about the lateral loads here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Groping horny leveler.
I was going with a good hammer. Good hammer leveler.
Yeah.
But could be a good house leveler.
Good house.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You can give
No.
you can give the real name if you want.
I've stopped thinking about it, but so you can tell the guy's smart. This is a product made in Saskatchewan by a farmer. And so he whipped something up here, but marketing was not a strong suit. His name's Jeff Herschel with a G.
Yeah. Oh man.
He's a G off.
GH Leveler.
Geoff.
G off.
It's not
Herschel
JH
leveler.
leveler.
Who made it? I did. My initials are GH. What does it do? Levels things. Perfect.
Pretty straightforward.
Ground heaving leveler.
Oh yeah, that would
That's
work.
that was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, Jeff is a very straightforward guy. If you ever meet Jeff, he's just like, here's your stuff. Here's your invoice. Thanks.
You need stuff to level? I got it.
I got it.
It's under my initials.
Gotta go. See you later, Jeff. Thanks.
So there's other products out there that do the same thing. Pilex makes some. There's a local place in town, Cindercrete, that makes a threaded rod adjustable saddle of sorts that your post for your deck can sit into, and then they sit on top of something else. A deck slab, a block of some sort.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like the ground's gonna move, and we're gonna let it move. We're just gonna tweak the deck around that. So go to it.
Now the
Adjustable.
immediate poor thing about this is that it does nothing to inhibit the ground moving. None of these do. But it does nothing to like combat the or like counteract the force of the ground moving. It's going to move with the ground. When the ground heaves, the whole deck heaves.
Fine.
The point of it is it's got a thread rod that you can get out there with your wrench, and
Give her a
with a
spin.
few turns you can re-level off your deck.
Yep.
The number of times people do that
0.
is probably next to none.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a good piece of mind to put that thread rod there, and that way you know that you could. So the problem too is that it's not attached to the ground. That's the biggest probably.
It's like
problem,
insurance.
probably, right?
You never use it, but you pay for it.
So in some areas where they do allow these things, they'll allow them as long as it's not
Regina.
attached to the house.
Oh yeah.
You could say like on a floating deck, you can just like set it on the ground. It doesn't have to be piled into the ground and positively attached to the ground. But then you can't attach to your house because your house is not moving. Here, they're like, no, who doesn't like
Everything
hinges?
moves. House
Everything
moves.
Yeah.
The houses move. The trees move.
So a slab is some sort of leveler. This is a
driveway.
budget way. You would not do this for any other reason than to save money. Argue for or against that concept of like that's not where you should be saving money. Agreed, but like it is what it is. There's markets that allow these things to be sold, and that's what it is.
Put it on the ground.
The pros is that they're quick and easy to install. They are adjustable. They hold a lot of weight, et cetera, et cetera. But and they're cheap, right? These GH levelers that we sell, they're $20 Canadian, right? So and then like a $7 slab.
I'm gonna pad your side of the table right away.
pad.
Oh, that's what we should have done today. Should have been the arm wrestle day.
What do you mean by pad?
You just keep.
I know.
You got a heavy left hand right
Order.
now.
Where's the gavel?
I figured that's what you were talking about, but listen, I've been trying for the last 7 minutes to lift my hands, and I'm just that tired.
Anyways, okay.
Back in there. Okay, now the next one that we'll talk about is I'm going to call this like the next light duty option, and it's a Pilex screw pile that we sell.
Whoa.
And is available over Home Depot.
Sounds
you can
like
find
you,
them anywhere.
Tricked him. So you weren't ready, hey? Is that
Like,
third
that's
on
not
your
the
list?
order I sneaked off this paper.
Yeah, you were like light duty option.
So the cost of one of these is about the same. They're about $30 again for a Pilex screw pile. What these things are is a 4 foot long, 50-inch long, 1 3/4 steel pipe that's painted with a small little 6-inch helix on the end of it and a 4x4 saddle on top. And you turn this thing in by hand. Or you could use an impact wrench, but in the instructions it says throw a 2x4 in that thing and walk in a circle for a bit. That's actually like legit the instructions.
Get
so
your kids
funny.
to walk in a circle
So-
for a bit.
Having installed one of these things, it's almost. So do you remember when you were a kid and you would take a baseball bat and you'd like stand on the
Yeah.
baseball bat and you'd spin around it and then you try to walk? That's what putting these things into the ground is like.
Over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Round
and then you
round.
finish and then you fall down.
Yep.
I have a friend. You also know this friend.
Yes, I know this one.
And so he did them hungover and was puking. Was like, what kind of sick joke is this? You
4 feet.
you sent these things out, so I was supposed to turn them into the ground and like. So, anyways, it wasn't my fault. He was hungover,
That's right. Do not use hungover.
but I did maybe oversimplify how easy these things were to use when I sold them to him. He was like, "Oh, it's no big deal." I was like, "It is no big deal if you have a sandy soil. We don't. We have clay soil. And you don't push anything into clay soil.
No.
It's like it's awful.
Yeah, I put some of these under the lower tier of my deck.
Sober.
11 of them. I was well, I'm not going to do that. I don't handle spinning at the best of times, let alone after.
Or drinking.
Or drinking.
It would never combine the two.
I should try it. Maybe I would become superhuman. in
Double
some
negatives.
Yeah.
You'd be good to go.
Right, exactly. You'd be positive.
So that
Yeah. Sounds like a frat game gone wrong.
Right.
Scott's exactly right. That's exactly what it is.
So look them up if you want to use them. I consider them to be very light duty. They claim they can support up to 5,000 pounds on the unit itself, but that is completely dependent on what you're screwing them into.
Pretty small unit.
That's
So,
what she said.
and it's also a fairly small shaft.
That's
Oh.
what she said.
Most small units do have small shafts,
Yeah.
in my experience.
But they'd be good for stairs, right?
Landings.
That's where we
Landing, stairs.
tell people, like, yeah, small little set of stairs. And if your frost line is
Frost.
not more than
Frost.
4
If
feet,
you want to spell that, it's FWOST. Frost line.
We should do 2 all the time.
if you frost line, if your frost is shallow, then these things will get below it. They'll probably anchor just fine, and they'll if it's a small deck that doesn't require a lot of bearing capacity, then these would be fine. So they have a place, just not in this podcast. So we'll move on to the next.
The best part is like nobody from Pilex even knows this thing exists.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not hurting anybody's feelings.
Screw you, Pilex.
Next one we'll talk about is just your traditional concrete pier or pile. And so this is the most common for sure. It's been around forever. It's the tried, true, safe, code appliant,
Yeah, like
code
the
compliant.
Egyptians started it, I think.
Yeah. It's the way that's like universally accepted everywhere. As long as you get a proper depth and proper size, every engineer will stamp that off.
Mhm.
So there's a couple ways to do it though. A lot of people are hell bent and completely abide by the idea of burying the posts in the concrete.
I don't like that.
And their reasoning for it is it provides a lot of lateral stability to the deck. And this is true. If you bury that post in concrete, the post has very little movement to flex, and then you're not really hinging where your post connects to your beam. That's always a hinge point there. You may not need the knee bracing that you maybe were going to need or something because there's enough lateral stability by being buried in concrete.
Yep.
The drawback to that everybody else says is like, you're just asking for rot. Like that's not going to last. You bury the post in concrete and the water gets in there and your post is going to last 6 years.
You G-tape the crap out of it.
You could. There is protective sleeves you could do, or you could do like a G-tape or something to protect it. And I'm
just
sure that
rots.
would go a long way.
It rots right at the point of like where the concrete is level, like right.
Oh, like
The transition from concrete to air, right there. That's where the post rots. The moisture sits there.
Yeah.
Not in
Doesn't
like 2
rot
feet
the
down
concrete.
doesn't rot. It rots right at the top of the concrete.
I gotcha.
Now that said, that's how pretty much every fence is built.
Yep.
Is by burying a post in concrete
Or just
And
the
so-
ground.
or just the ground, and those can last. But yeah, if you're gonna do, I would say if you're gonna do that, I've never done a deck that way personally. I see the value in doing it, but I would for sure, if deciding to do it that way, I would for sure be using some sort of protective barrier to make sure that post doesn't rot out. Whether it's G-tape or there is, I don't remember the name of it. There's a plastic sleeve that you can slide over the bottom of a post before you burn them in concrete. I feel like it's like a UK product.
I say leave it alone.
Okay.
Maybe if you use those at home, you wouldn't have 3 kids.
Yeah, right.
Is it ribbed?
I heard it's a Lifestyles product or a Trojan.
So you have that option. It's probably a good option. The other more common and code compliant way to do this is you bracket your post to the concrete.
Yep.
You sonotube your pile however deep is required, however big is required, and you mount a plate on it, most commonly like a Simpson ABA bracket or some sort of standoff.
Yep.
And
So I think it's important to have that in there as well, to have the standoff, because if you take your post and set it right on top of the concrete,
Mm-hmm.
same problem, like same rotting issue. But if
Yeah.
you can get that Simpson, that's what we sell most of. So we'll talk about that ABA. It has basically a 1-inch standoff, allows a little bit of airflow underneath the post. And
But you could use a GH leveler, couldn't you?
yes, you could.
you could mount
Yeah,
a GH leveler down.
Yep. They have a bracket that you can bolt to the pile, and then it's like a plate.
Give you the most flexibility.
You just want a connection to the concrete. Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to do it. There's guys that use like a J bolt, or like there's different brackets that would accomplish the same thing. Even those little Pilex saddles that would normally sit in a block can be flipped upside down, bury the rod into the ground to give you adjustability. If you're worried that you're still going to have to adjust this deck at some point, then you could add some sort of leveling component in there.
Yeah.
Simpson bracket's not going to do it for you, but others
Nope.
could. So,
Okay.
So that one's good. The problem with those though is that unless you get a proper depth, they're not super great at combating frost heave.
It's hard to get a proper depth too in some places.
In some places, depending on where you're listening from. So for some guys, this is no problem. They have to go 12 inches. They dig this with a shovel, and they're done. Like if that was all you had to do everywhere, none of these other products would even exist.
That's correct.
These other products exist because some places you got to dig a little bit more than 12 inches, and so therefore people look for better solutions because that's no fun.
Yep.
For example, here, if you're going to get like an engineered deck built, they're going to want you to go probably on average 18 feet deep.
I was
What?
gonna say, yeah,
18 feet?
18 to 16 feet.
Why do
And
you
you're
gotta go
need,
so deep, Shane?
You're gonna need 300 piles too.
That's a lot of piles
That's a lot of piles.
for your stair landing. So we've talked about this before. We might live in one of the shittiest places to build a deck on the continent, not only because of our frost depths, but because of our soil types.
Yep.
And so all of that clay.
Funny that
need
we
to-
latched on to doing this, right? But it was like we should really talk about decking.
Yeah, nobody else wants to touch it. Category because it's painful. Here to like, and let's be honest, the average Joe that's building his deck, this is why they put them on the ground, because they don't want anything to do with drilling out a 18-foot deep hole and filling it with concrete. They just aren't doing it. The only people doing that are home builders when
Home
they're pouring 18-foot deep piles all over for the basement and the garage and everything else.
Correct.
They'll punch them for the deck too.
Yep.
Or if it's a second-story walkout and you have a reputable company who's got engineered drawings and whatever else, then they might too.
Yep.
But it's definitely a rarity, I would say, for most decks that are built in the city
Correct. Yeah.
that aren't high. So as a result of that,
Do we talk about why they have to be so deep? Do people understand that? Piles are friction based. And so if your frost goes down 6 feet, you have to have 7 feet of pile below the frost line to counteract that. That's all there is to it.
tug of war.
They still move.
Tug of war. Yeah. People often think that piles are like put there so that the deck doesn't push down. It's actually there so that the deck doesn't go up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyways.
So double your frost line here. It's crazy how deep it is here.
Well, and like if you were to build a deck near a body of water, you probably can't use concrete piles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
potentially. Yeah.
Just couldn't get past the water.
That's right.
So as a result of that,
How would you do it if you weren't going to use concrete then,
Yes.
Shane?
oh God, let me tell you.
Please.
Let me enlighten you here. Have we mentioned this? Have you talked about these in the podcast before?
Track saws?
Yes.
It's a track saw. Speaking of track saws, did you see that? Is it Kate? Kate Campbell? She used a track saw just the other day.
Did she?
I think so. Put in a
Okay.
Pebble Gray Trex deck. Used a
there you
track
go.
saw. A
Track saw.
DeWalt one. I was going to comment on it, but she hasn't. I was going to have to do it from the Ultimate Deck Shop page because I think she's blocked me personally. It's over.
Probably. Like most women have on
Yeah.
the app.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Another one, you know what, before we get to the one that I want to talk about, let's
Oh,
talk about the
good.
diamond piers, because these have become, because I would say these are also like not as good as what we're about to talk about, but they're an option for places that they say have frost no deeper than 48 inches.
What the heck's a diamond pier?
Right? Sounds expensive.
Sounds
isn't it?
very expensive.
I actually don't know what the cost of these are. I bet you that they're like, they won't be as much as like a helical pile, but they probably, I don't know, 70, 80, $100 maybe
I don't know.
a piece potentially. I'm not sure.
No idea.
I'll do a quick look.
If anybody in the Instagram knows how much the diamond piers go for in your area, if you use them, let us know. So what a diamond pier is it's a formed block of concrete formed into the shape of a diamond. That's where it gets its name from. So it's got kind of like a coned bottom portion to it, and then it at the top, like it looks like a diamond that goes in a ring, like that shape.
Mhm.
I don't know why I had to say that, because if I say diamond, you're all thinking that shape anyway.
I usually think of like something that you use to cut glass, but that's okay.
Okay.
I
So-
avoid rings.
It's that shape, and what it uses is these long steel rods. It's got the concrete is formed with holes through the sides of the four sides, and these long rods get driven in, typically like with a jackhammer attachment, and they get pounded in, and essentially they crisscross beneath the concrete slab. So you dig out a small little hole in the ground to set this little diamond concrete block thing in, stabilize it, and then
Yep.
you drive these pins in.
Yep.
And then they crisscross this way and they crisscross back the other way. So you've got these 4 pins interlocking, crisscrossing
Wow.
in the ground. So
Looks
all
like-
these pins driving in this different direction
Looks like
locks
Bryce
this
just
thing in
found
place. Yeah.
This is crazy looking. It looks like a little spider.
Right?
Yeah.
So those pins lock in,
They're pretty expensive.
and then it
How much are they?
$160 American up here,
Holy smokes, that's more than I thought they would be.
depending on length and size.
Okay. So a little bit more than I thought they would be. They seem good. The nice thing about them is that you don't need necessarily large equipment to install them. If you've got the little jackhammer, you can drive them in yourself without, bringing in a pile installer or a Bobcat or whatever else.
Yeah.
So they're nice that way. They don't combat frost deeper than 48 inches. At least they didn't before. If that's changed, you're saying they have longer, different
So-
size pins now, so maybe that's different now.
Yeah, so you can get 2 different weight sizes of the concrete diamond,
Okay.
50 and 75. Obviously, the 75 one is worth a lot more.
Is that pounds? 50
Pounds.
pounds and 75 pounds?
So they're pretty heavy, too.
Yep.
And then you can get a 63-inch pin length for the longest.
5 feet.
Okay. So that's
not a-
probably still the 48-inch depth, because they're putting that in on an angle, so it won't actually go 63 inches deep.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never quite understood how they're effective against frost, because at the end of the day, it's still a block sitting on top of the ground. If the frost pushes up underneath it, like, are the pins really strong enough to like hold that thing down and like crush the ice and the frost it's trying to like?
What are they
pull it
going to
up?
hold against, right? Like the reason the ground swells is that the moisture in it, like the moisture in the ground swells, it freezes.
Yeah.
And so the ground like gets bigger.
Yeah.
And so this pier is just attached to that 4 feet. Right? So how does it not go up?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you were for a full 4 feet, I'm guessing they're more effective the shallower the depth is, obviously.
Sure.
But if there's only 12 inches of frost and those pins are 4 feet deep, then maybe that helps more. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyways, they're popular in some areas. Some guys use them and love them. And in other areas, like we've never explored them, because years ago at my first Deck Expo, what was that, 5 years ago now? I had seen these things in a magazine at some point, and they were there. And so I went and talked to him. I was like, "Hey, these look interesting. They seem like they'd be perfect for our area. How do they work?" And he's like, "Yeah, here's how they work. Blah, they're great. They work for frost up to 4 feet." I was like, "Oh shoot, that's not going to
that's
work." He's
not-
like, "What do you mean it's not going to work? Where are you from?"
Where are you from?
And
That's exactly what it sounds like. Then you almost don't want to say Canada, because then you got to listen to the next half an hour of like, oh yeah, you got the internet there.
So I told him, I was like, "Well, I'm from Saskatchewan. Like our frost can be 6 feet deep." And he's like, I just blew his mind. He's like, no way, you're kidding me. You don't actually get frost that deep, do you? Yep. Okay, sounds good. Like not all of Canada. If you're in Southern Ontario, you're 3 feet, 4 feet. If you're in BC, you're next to nothing.
0.
Yeah.
But here in the prairies,
these things are code compliant for the state of Minnesota, though.
Mm-hmm.
which would have fairly deep frost,
Which would
as
be
well, right?
pretty close to where we are.
Yeah, they probably 5 feet.
I would say.
6 feet. So there you go. I mean, there's certainly a better option, even if they don't combat the frost perfectly, than the options we talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
And sitting it on top of the ground.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
what's the connection at the top of it look like? Is there a good
It's
lateral
like a
load?
square.
Good lateral
It's like
load
another
connection, or it
diamond
just
on
sits in
top.
it?
It's just flat.
So how does a post connect to it?
I'm sure you have to buy.
Just have
some
to
sort
buy a
of
bracket,
bracket.
and anchor it on there.
Comes with.
Mhm.
Fairly good construction says on the Instagram here. I'm designing a dock for our place down the coast. Is there different options for piers in water? So we need our buddy Jason Varney back on here for that.
Mm.
Did you guys talked about that a little bit?
We didn't.
Did
talk
you know?
any structural
We didn't
stuff?
talk
We
about
just
piers.
we just chatted. It
So
was
I
just
don't
like-
I don't know that. I'm not well versed in that enough. I know that he and many dock builders, they drive piles.
Correct.
They drive like
steel
treated
no, they
like
drive steel.
or steel or wood.
Mm. Right.
in,
Hammer
like,
them.
Yeah.
Hammer them.
I've seen those.
Like you would
before.
drive piles for a
Boom,
bridge.
boom,
Yeah, yeah,
boom,
because you can
boom.
drive those like I-beams essentially straight
Correct.
in. For,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to like stabilize that dock and make sure it's not moving with the water, then that's probably the way to go. You got to pound them in. I don't know how else you do it, unless you can
don't-
part the sea. And
I don't know why you'd want like wouldn't you want your dock to be like a little
No, but you.
move a little?
So I would
I
want the
guess it's a
dock to
pier.
move around the structure,
The structure.
but like I would drive piles in, and then I would build it so that the dock was able to ride up and down on that.
That's what she said.
Exactly.
your hand motions right now are ridiculous too.
Is it that big?
It's
Wait.
just like I don't. It's not this way.
Ouch. So, yeah, but like pile driving. Do you know of any other options? I mean, there's the option of like floating docks, but
Yeah,
but if
for
you're
docks.
depending on what you're building, like if it's just kind of a boat dock, fine. But if you're building like a structure like Varney builds, where it's like a damn house on the water, you
guess
don't
the-
want that bouncing around.
I guess the other thing is we're thinking about like Saskatchewan bodies of water that generally freeze over, and if you were to leave anything in the water near the shore, it would be destroyed.
So that's
in the
funny. I
spring.
was actually thinking of the ocean when I was.
I just thought about that.
I was like, when the waves are rolling in, and it's like, yeah.
And I was
I'd
thinking
wanna-
rivers, because that's where Varney builds his on rivers. So, anyways, we've tackled all 3 bodies of water here.
So if it's a lake that freezes, nothing. If it's the ocean, you want to be able to have it float.
But there probably is legitimate differences between all those, right? Like
Mhm.
obviously in the ocean, thing's got to be beefed up. It's getting waves crash into it, and a river's got a current, and a lake is a lot of them are fairly still. If it's a larger lake, it may not be so still. So
Mhm.
it's probably different considerations for sure.
Piles. I would think that driving piles would be the best.
Fairly good construction says we're looking into twisting PVC pipe and concrete inside.
Oh. Mhm.
So
Mm.
yeah, good question. So diamond piers. That's all there is to say about those. A little bit more pricey than I thought they were. Nice,
They're
easy
pretty
one to put
expensive.
in on site and not have to wait for somebody else, the installer. Maybe not the best for tackling frost, but code compliant in some areas. Sounds
Yeah.
like. Northridge GC says we've been looking into helical piles for docks, which we have been told is possible.
I just wonder how you would drive them in. Like if you're 12 feet out from the shore, how do you get that pile to go into the?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you could probably do it from a barge.
How do you build a
You just need
deck?
a hydraulic
Yeah, how do you build
driver.
Yeah, like Jason Varney builds off of.
Yeah.
You might want to anchor yourself, or you'll just be like swinging around the ball. Woohoo! But anyway, it's probably possible, I guess. I don't know. So that's the next one we're talking about is helical screw piles. Now, we've made no secret that we are huge fans of these things, and they make so much sense in our market.
Yep.
But even some guys that resisted using them for a long time are now using them.
Because they got paid to.
Hashtag Jason Russell, who is in a market in Washington where like 12 inches was fine.
Why would you ever do that there? Right. So if I was in the Washington area, I wouldn't do screw piles.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Right? Here it does. But
I don't know how deep he's going with them though. Like you could probably get away with going 4 feet down there.
Yeah.
With those, it's probably plenty.
Sure.
The helical piles we put in here are 10 feet long by, like, that's the short size available from most of the guys. I know there's other ones that have like some 7-footers, 8-footers, whatever, or longer. And then you can always put extensions on to drive deeper if you have to, but that's usually, it's not common unless an engineer is called for it, which the engineers usually do. If like they just apply concrete rules, like 18 feet deep. Or like our installer that we've used before, he said he's done some stuff out in solar fields or different areas where he's had to go like 40, 50 feet deep.
And so the reason he'll have to go that far down is they're trying to achieve a certain torque.
Yeah.
So that the thing doesn't rip out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has a torque meter on there, and it's just like, if they don't hit the torque, they put another extension on. Down they go.
Yep.
Until he hits proper load. And
Keep on going.
Yep.
And so these helical screw piles we're talking about are much the same science as those little Pylex ones, just on a much heavier duty scale. These are the actual proper thing to use, whereas those Pylex ones are very light duty DIY homeowner type product or copy of them. So these things, in our case, 10 foot long shaft. Depends on the company you look at. Some are 2 3/8, some are 3 1/2. So they got 4 inch. Like there's different sizes of pipe depending on the load you need to support.
Correct.
And the size of the tine or the helix on the bottom is different. It could be 8 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, 16 inches. Like
Correct.
It's just welded steel. You make them whatever size you need to make them.
Mm-hmm.
And they drive in hydraulically, so you do need machinery. Now, some franchises like Post-Tech use just like an excavator, mini excavator to drive them in.
Yep.
Other companies like Techno Metal Post have little remote controlled drive, like not even walk behind, like fully remote control units that hydraulically drive these things in. Everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially any machinery with a hydraulic attachment on it could drive it. You just have to need something that spins.
Yeah.
So they're amazing because they drive in super quick and easy. So you place you mark out your piles, you place where the pile is going to go, and you start turning it, and it screws itself into the ground until you're deep enough. It's that easy, and it takes 2 minutes.
It's fast.
Like 2 minutes in our clay.
So fast.
And once you're at the end, you pop the pins out, and like it's done. You're ready to build.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big benefit of it. No mess, no cleanup, no excavating a hole out, no shoveling anything. You drive it in, you step around it.
No
little bit of-
waiting. Like there's no,
Ready to go.
you don't have to wait for it to cure. It's good.
Nothing. Like from the time the guy shows up and unloads the machinery off his trailer and drives back and puts 4 piles in, like we're under an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably 40 minutes to do all that, and then you're building. So it's
you're
just
maybe
it's
building,
so slick.
like you're maybe building already when he shows up. So he's popping the piles in, the ledger's getting attached to the house, and you're spiking the beam together, and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he leaves and all of a sudden the beam's up and you're like, it's just, here we go.
Good to go.
yeah,
Deck's
they are.
framed by 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, they're slick. That's the ideal situation, and they battle frost a little bit differently. So they've got that big plate at the bottom that screws in, and that's doing 2 things. One, it's providing the load, depending on the size of the plate, and the torque that's requiring to screw it in. That's providing like your weight bearing capacity, but also it acts as a bloody anchor.
Correct.
So it's like if the frost or anything tries to heave the ground up, it's like, well, that thing's anchored into the ground. Yes, it's a 3-inch pipe, but down below there's a 12-inch plate there that we need to like rip up straight through the ground. It's
Yeah.
like it's just not going to happen.
And so the 12-inch plate is doing all the holding. The 12-inch plate has all of this, and the frost is able to move up and down. That's fine. It just moves around the pipe.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Slides up and down the shaft.
Slides up and down the shaft.
That's what she said.
Slowly though.
Yeah.
It's
Not
not,
too-
fast.
not too fast.
Not too fast.
Now there's different plate or caps or saddles that you can put on the top of these things, and different brands work different ways. Some guys come out and they weld it to the top of the post, like they weld a bracket on. Other guys have adjustable threaded
Yeah.
rods again.
And so you can do that welded because the theory behind it is it's not moving, so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if you have adjustable. We've
That's right.
grown up in a climate where everything moves all the time, so the idea of welding to the top of that like makes me nervous. I get anxiety
dumb.
around
Yeah.
that.
Well, the nice thing about it is at install time too, if it's adjustable, like you don't need your installer to be so bang on his depth of each pile.
Yeah.
He just has to be close. Because within an inch, you got a 6-inch rod that you can spin in and adjust your heights and do micro adjustments when you're going to level out your beam if you want. That's the nice thing about it then.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those ones like that actually bolt on to the shaft of the pipe, after you've put the beam on, they're no longer adjustable. Like you can't turn the saddle anymore anyway.
Yep.
So it's really just meant for leveling at the time of install.
Yep.
So anyways, they're slick as shit. The industry is going that way. Like more and more deck builders are buying their own equipment to put them in themselves, or they're investing in a franchise, or they've formed partnership with somebody that's going to do them for them.
Mm-hmm.
The home builders are still doing concrete because that's what they're using for their house. But these things are used for all sorts of stuff too, for houses and for cottages and solar fields and structural slabs.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. So they're amazing. There's like, it's a revolutionary product in the decking industry, I think.
Agreed.
Now, the last one we're going to talk about, I don't know much about this one, but it seems to me it's kind of like a bit of a take on the helical screw pile. And I've heard them referred to or called as
I'm aware of this product.
yeah,
It
that's what
exists.
I'm aware of.
It exists.
And I'm going to call it a ground screw because that's kind of what they call it, as a ground screw. Now, it's very similar to a
Deck screw.
helical screw pile.
It's just a deck screw. It's
It's a really big deck screw.
It's a large
That's what it is.
ceramic coated deck screw. But essentially it's that. It's a steel shaft, but instead of having one large helix on it, it's got threading like a screw and a pointy end like a screw.
Yep. That's what I said.
And it's driven in electrically, like with a tool that just plugs in.
Oh.
And and so you just like bring out a case, it's a little tool you put on the end of it, and it'll drive that thing in. And so now you've even reduced your equipment size even more, and it's like easily something you can throw in the trailer.
Yeah.
These ground screws, being that they're like the ones that they're installing down in California. I think Blake from California Deck Pros is using them.
Correct,
Or has
yeah.
used them.
Yep.
They don't need them to be very long. They're only about 4 feet long. So like you could literally store 20 of those in your trailer at any given
Possibly.
time. It's not
Yep.
that hard, right?
Yep.
I don't. In other markets, I don't know if they go longer. They probably must go longer. So I have no experience with these to know. I just find them very interesting, the idea of them.
Yeah.
To me, they seem like they wouldn't be as effective against the frost as just having the one big plate to the bottom, because it's not a smooth surface down the shaft. It's all threaded. So there's more, like the ground can grab it,
More surface area to hold on to.
I think.
Yeah.
Unless you can get 10-foot deep long ones
But even
that
at
have
that, you're still
3
just
feet of threading and then a smooth shaft above that. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. You're still just holding on to the frost. That's why I don't like that.
So I'm curious, the people in the Instagram live here, if you've used these ground screws, the stop digging ground screws, what do you think? Like, are they good? Are they bad? Is there any issues? Is there like any
What's
surprises?
the cost on them?
That I don't know either. I would suspect that they're probably similar to the helical screw piles, given that they're all just like galvanized steel again.
Once again, Bryce, we're just aware of these things.
You're just aware.
I'm aware that this exists.
Call it $100 a piece.
You'll want to use
Like-
the internet to Google it.
Because that's the other nice thing is that your cost probably is $150 a piece on those, because you're not paying somebody else to install them either.
Yes.
You buy the tool, which is
Right.
probably $1,000, whatever, for the tool. But
Cost per wear goes down as you pop some of those into the ground.
But with helical screw piles, if you're subbing that out, you're paying $300, give or take, per pile.
Yeah,
Might be
probably
a little bit more cost.
probably depends on the length of the pile, but
TC Deck says they don't sell just the equipment to individuals. You have to buy into the franchise, and they only allow a certain number per area.
oh, that's good. That's good because it protects you from like
Yeah, he looked into them. Fairly Good Construction says in Australia as well, they only have 600 thread. I feel like that's millimeter talk again.
it is.
I'm out.
We should be in on that.
I know we should be.
Bayo.s makes ground screws as well, and they're extendable. Because I saw the stop no digging, or
Yep.
stop digging
Stop
ones,
digging ones, yeah.
and then there's these ones called BAYO.s.
Fairly Good says I'm yet to use, but was going to try it on a smaller deck first. I'm just not sure on it.
Always a good plan.
That's where I'm at too. It's like, if they work really good, they seem like they'd be really convenient to use. But where's the science?
Somebody will have it. Somebody will have that science.
I'm sure they work really great. My question is just about the frost. That's it.
Yeah.
Here, right?
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Wade, any others? Of course, there's other options for foundations. These are the most common
Yeah.
or the most up and coming. There's a lot of products out there that claim to be like a foundation option, and they are, but they're just not. Like, they're very regional. So these are the ones that you're bound to run into and maybe consider on your projects. I just didn't involve the stuff that was like not super known about. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like there's on the ground and in the ground and
Around the ground.
that's it. Like, I don't know.
Bryce,
Put a good foundation on your deck.
what do you figure?
Under.
Yeah,
Under.
you could talk about that a little bit. Like, This is
Why
one
not?
area where people tend to want to skimp because it's not the pretty stuff.
I gotta
Yeah.
put lights on instead. It's like, it doesn't matter. Your deck's gonna fall down in 2 years, so don't worry about the lights.
But the lights might help the rescue crew find you
Right?
buried in the rubble.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's unfortunately something people tend to want to skimp on
Mm-hmm.
because it's not pretty. It's like, wait, you're telling me like the $30 option is like looks the same as the $300 option? Like to me, when I build my deck, it's like, yeah, it does, but the other one's it's better. Why? Because it's not going to move. Yeah, well, whatever. My neighbor doesn't have them. Fair. Okay. Do I have to use them? Here, you don't have to use them. Okay. Well, then yeah, I'll just do the blocks in the ground.
Sweet, give me the lights.
Yeah.
So there it is. So we sell them the lights.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. Like, of course, I think that the right way to do it is to put some sort of pile,
Put some sort of pile in the ground.
but I'm not going to lose a sale over that. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, that's the problem here. Like I said, 85. I'm pulling this straight out of my arse. 85% of decks that are built here that
As
are
per
not
the rest of the
not
podcast.
second story decks are built with the GH levelers or the ground
Yeah.
slabs, right?
So let's actually clarify that in our area, the rule is if the deck is over 6 feet, you have to have an in-ground contact. It's
Yeah.
not just every deck gets to be set on top of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
only under 6 feet, and that's only in Regina. If you go down the street to Moose Jaw, 40 minutes away, it's 2 feet.
Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Moose jaw.
So the rules are different everywhere a little bit, but there are a lot of scenarios where they require you to do a proper pile. It's not that they're just like super willy-nilly about things here.
Right.
But if it's under 6 feet, they don't care if you die from it.
Well, you don't die.
You don't die from falling 6 feet.
Unless it's by railing, because then when you're near railing, it has to be 2 feet, because 24 inches, you die. 23 inches,
You're okay.
injury.
Yeah. Okay, fairly good construction says in Australia you have to worry about the kangaroos kicking them out. No frost down there.
Get a machine gun.
Anyway,
Just a
that's a quick quick run through of all the foundation options that you can put under your deck. Like I said, we've talked about some ones that are really, really good, and then there's some cheap options. Go with a good foundation.
I'd like to go shoot kangaroos someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go shoot kangaroos? Get yourself a roo?
I mean, sure. Like,
Mostly just to see Australia, not so much for the shooting.
I
of
just
the
like
roo.
I feel like the putting myself into that scenario is a large investment. It's like it's not like we just go on the weekend.
But Shane, you might get snake.
Yeah, you could eat
Right?
snake. So
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
What's the craziest thing you've eaten?
Craziest thing I've eaten?
Yeah, the most like exotic.
So
Not like
okay.
one time I ate my fingernails. No, I'm talking like actual like food that's not normal here.
So there's some sort of like Icelandic shark that you can get the story is that the fishing town goes and like kills a shark, but the meat's a little poisonous. And so they dig a big hole and everybody pisses on it and let it sit because the ammonia
Because the ammonia kills it.
kills it. And then you eat this meat and you drink Icelandic potato schnapps. And it tastes like piss meat.
I wasn't expecting that. I
You win.
You asked.
thought it was gonna be like some sort of vegetable you can't get here. What about you?
Durian.
Haggis. Sheep brain would be
Oh,
the
yeah.
worst. That's the weirdest thing I've had.
Somebody TC Des in the Instagram says who named the cities in Saskatchewan.
He doesn't
He's
even
got
know.
no idea.
Yeah, so you go to Moose Jaw, and then you go down the road to Eyebrow, and then once you get to Eyebrow, you can go to Elbow.
Yeah. I
There's a
should
lot of
tell
good ones
him. I should tell him there's a book that he should read. I'll
What about
text
you,
him.
Shane? What's the weirdest thing you've eaten?
I was trying to think of it while I was asking that. So my trip to that restaurant in Banff, there was a few things on there that's probably the most exotic, to be honest. Like not seasoned in the way you've done your shark,
Weird
but like
shark.
yak was on there, kangaroo. So that stuff was like, that was different for me. I can't think of anything beyond that. But my mother actually used to live up in Nunavut. And so this is going to be special for our American friends too. But like, it's pretty well known that like 80% of the population of Canada lives within like 100 miles of the US border.
Yes.
Like we kind of hug the southern portion of this. But way up in the uninhabited north, there's people that do live up there. My mom went up there and her late husband, and they spent a couple of years up there really embracing the local Inuit culture.
Culture, yeah.
And they partooketh
Partaked.
in the elders like clubbing a seal or hunting a seal, and then like
Clubbing.
maybe not. I mean, clubbing. I don't know how they put the seal down, but right
They
there it's
shoot
like
them usually. Like
yeah, maybe
everybody
it was
has
just shot.
rifles now.
Strangle them with
but,
their
like,
bare hands.
Back in the day, it was a clubbing. But
And so
now
it's a bit of a community event there again. And pardon me if I get any of this wrong because I don't know. Like I'm not trying to be insensitive to this. I'm just recalling the story as I see fit. But they said that like the locals, it's like a big deal when the elder brings back a seal or whatever, and everybody kind of like the kids come running over and they will like drink the blood out of the seal. They'll like scoop up the blood out of the skull of it or whatever.
Fresh
They're-
blood.
Like the eyeballs are a delicacy. It's like eyeballs, yummy. And so I didn't do it, but I think that's like that was the one that made me think like, boy, I don't know if that's one I would do.
Yeah.
Like I would try a lot of things, a lot of cooked things that are like they're just not normal here, but they're normal somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
I had moose
But
tongue.
raw
one
blood and
time.
eyeballs is like,
Tongue is awesome. I think tongue's a great
I think
meat.
it was a joke. It was like tough and chewy, and it was really bad.
Oh, cow
I
tongue's
was
good.
16, and I think it was a joke. So
Chicken hearts are good.
delicious.
so my
Gizzards,
wife,
delicious.
yeah, right.
They're
My
so
wife
good.
still finds this. We've been together for I don't even know now 8 years. She still finds this strange that my family used to cook the pack of
The
Chicken
giblets.
the
gizzards.
giblets,
The
whatever you want to call it,
giblets,
the
the
gizzard and the heart and the
giblets,
liver and all
yeah.
that stuff. It was like when we were younger, we cooked those up, and between me and my sister, we kind of fight over them.
Oh, yeah.
I want the liver. And so
I never wanted the liver,
I
but the
hated the
heart
liver.
and the gizzard.
the heart and the gizzard was always the best.
The throat's not bad.
I wasn't allowed to have the gizzard growing up. That was always Dad had the gizzard, but now he's not around when I cook the turkey. So
That
and they don't
one
keep-
time a year.
yeah, twice. But for fairly good construction and for TC decks, they should look up a book called Dirty Birds, and it's written by a guy from Saskatchewan, and it has a whole whack of like Saskatchewan lingo in it. The guy's from Belly Button, Saskatchewan.
Belly Button, Saskatchewan.
Right?
Is that a real town?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not a real town, but
Big Beaver.
anyways, there's just like my one coach played in the SJ in Flin Flon, and then came back and opened up a garage, and it's just like all of the stories it's Saskatchewan. It reads Saskatchewan.
Nice.
TC Dex wants to know what the book's name is. What's the book, Wade?
Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds.
Yep. Maybe I should comment on it.
So you can go look that one up and entertain yourself.
We're gaining people back.
They like the nonsense at the end.
Apparently. Flip the nonsense to the end.
Foundation of every great podcast. The bullshit at the end
Okay, let's go then.
and the start.
Turn it off.
Turn
Okay.
it off.
Thanks so much for tuning in. That's another great episode of the Ultimate Deck Podcast. If you are interested in sponsoring or advertising on the podcast, shoot me a message on Instagram. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.